I'm not immune to buying things on a whim, and this unexpected package from a popular phone manufacturer proves that. Inside is an offer for free smartphones. Although the box is heavy enough and it is the right size for smartphones, those things are usually better packed in cardboard boxes. Looks like I overdid the sanitizer. This package is a precision screwdriver kit. Of course, I already have such a thing, but only ever so slightly off brand. So when Scatasium told me about this, I had to buy it. This already feels a lot heavier than the fake one. Side by side, the differences in quality are obvious. The latching mechanism on the real one feels nice and solid, and so does the finish. The magnets feel stronger too. The little rotating part on the end of the handle feels much smoother. Overall, a 10 out of 10 screwdriver kit. And what am I going to use it for? To tighten screws, of course. Oh, and this thing? Well, I guess I have to talk about it too. It all began when I was working on a certain project that has a lot of current mirrors, and I wanted to measure more than one current at the same time. My measurement capabilities are severely limited. I have one good meter and one not so good meter. I wanted something with more measurement channels, and I was reminded of this AD974 that Marco Rep sent me. And that, along with this collection of parts, is going to become a 4-channel voltage and current digitizer. Right from the start, the AD974 needed to be told everything. The enable pin had to be pulled low for the reference to start up, and that took me long enough to figure out. Maybe these days we are spoiled by internal pull-ups. The SPI-like interface seemed to be working, but the output on the serial monitor showed nothing. Turns out I had to pull another pin high to enable external clocking, and that accomplished nothing. But turns out it was a software problem, and the voltage reading was accurate down to the millivolt after that. Before long, I had the circuit soldered up on a perf board, and it was rather good looking, even if I say so myself. I quickly designed a case for it, and of course, I was running very short on filament. I did some maths, which told me that I had enough filament to finish this one print. And while that's printing, I can grab a quick snack. The fit is absolutely perfect, although I might have cheated a little with some hasty sanding. After a couple of days of tearing my hair out because of the AD974's internal resistor network, I decided to just use the AD1015 12-bit Delta Sigma ADC. Desoldering the machine pin sockets was a pain, and removing solder from the holes of the perf board is a laborious and repetitive task. Heat from one side, suck from the other. And then spent a nice bright afternoon soldering the replacement header. The top half of this case is one of those 3D printing success stories. The OLED display fits in perfectly. And of course, I'm going to secure it in place using scotch tape. The switch was a little troublesome, and I needed some shaving to get the excess material off the edges, which is my fault because I always over level the bed. The rotary encoder is a perfect fit too. Now that I have all the parts ready, it's time to put this thing together. The graphics test sketch works just fine. I had to take the thing apart again because I forgot to connect 5 volts to an imported node in the resistor network, and my battery holder had come loose. Since the values on the screen were jumping around too much, Dimin suggested that I check the output of the boost converter, and of course there were 400 millivolt peaks and there was some kind of FM going on too. Connecting a large capacitor to the output makes the peaks better. And since I was curious, I decided to probe the input, battery positive and battery negative, both of which showed values. And after nearly 2 weeks of wrestling with the software, we have a working device. Turning the device on, you are greeted with some branding and some terrible floating input offsets, but this can be explained by the input voltage divider. To measure both positive and negative voltages, the middle of the resistor divider is biased so that 50 volts gives you 2.5 volts out and minus 50 volts gives you 0 volts out. Basically doing maths with resistors. And then that maths is undone to display the correct voltage. Shorting the input shows a nice 0 volts on all inputs. Pressing the rotary encoder for a while enters the range menu where you can select between volts, milliamps and microamps. The last two having 500 milliamps and 1000 microamps full scale range respectively. Unfortunately, the front end is not auto scale, so you have to move some jumpers around. The voltage range needs this configuration and the current range needs you to move the voltage jumper up and add another jumper to select the shunt. I was not originally planning to show the calibration procedure, but it was interesting enough that I filmed it anyway. Dimin's code allows two kinds of calibration, full scale and zero offset. Since there was no zero offset as we already tested, we are going to fix the scale error. With one of the current modes selected, the ADC reads 0 volts, so the negative full scale error is shown. Divide the displayed value by 50, multiply by the ideal constant and change the value in the code to the answer you got. And there you go, 50 volts. The offset is left unchanged. And now time to test the meter. The voltage accuracy is not very good, but that might have something to do with my sketchy calibration method, but at least the values are in the ballpark. Very usable to get a rough idea of what your circuit is doing. The current range seems fine too, but the decimal point is ever so slightly misplaced and that can be fixed in software. And that concludes this little side project. Maybe Dimin will explain the code or make a better version of this on his channel. Link to that and a GitHub repo with all the project files in the description.